how do you find your financial soulmate?
I think it's important to realize that love is expensive, and how it's expensive is when you get it wrong, because the cost of a divorce, the costs of a breakup, it's immense. So when you are looking for that financially compatible partner, you must find someone who is not necessarily like you. Compatible doesn't mean the same. Compatible means somebody who can work with you. So if you look at a plug, it's a plug and a socket, they're totally different, but they work together. So it's the same thing in that relationship. When you are looking for a spouse or a partner, look for someone who discusses money openly and upfront, because it could cost you quite a bit.
Gerald, I got one word for you. Prenup.
Easiest.
It's that simple. I mean, just get a prenup.
You tell that to your fiance that you want a prenup.
I'm sorry,
Exactly,
no,
Arnold.
I mean, that's
Tell that to your fiance.
I'm saying it on television right
No.
now.
Okay, you say it to your...
I'm
to your
shaking my head, Gerald. Please tell us.
Any young lady you tell her right now prenup, she'll start having second thoughts about you. The reality is, just have the open conversation around your finances and money. And the most important things are, how much do you earn? How much debt do you have? Because as smart, as suave as you may look right now, what's behind might be very different. And that's the problem. After the marriage, the veil is lifted, the makeup comes off, and the horrors of everybody's individual finances can come through and haunt a relationship. And that's what's important. Whilst you're still dating, get to the money questions. He might be dating you, my love, on a credit card.
Gerald, this is very interesting.
It's very interesting, and you say something very important there. And how do we learn how to budget together? Because that's another important component. I'm sure you'd have to be knowing his finances right from the get-go, so that you guys can develop a budget.
That's the truth. You need to know how much each other earns. If that is supposed to be a state secret, it won't work. Because how you start the budgeting process before you're married is, you sit down with your love and you say, sweetie, in our fictitious house, how are we going to spend money? And you each prepare what's on your mind and what's on your heart. And you will probably find that with two people who are in love, it'll be two totally different scenarios. Then you can start that conversation in saying, I can't afford for you to buy 3 pairs of shoes every month, maybe 1. And then you have that conversation. Same thing, if you don't have that budgeting conversation, you come one day and you say, I want 4 children. But 4 children means you are men amongst men, because each child is going to cost you R1 million from birth to 18 years old. So you're saying, I'm going to work 4 million rand. She's then going to ask you, okay, 4 children, my love, no problem. Can you afford it? Then the conversation gets interesting.
I do have a problem with some people whose idea of having fun is going to the shopping mall and not just window shop, but actually get a lot of shoes. And this is all on credit. And we see that reflected on the household credit for South Africa as opposed to the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. Now, that being said, if we get married, hypothetically, to someone, how about I just cut through your credit card with a pair of scissors? Because it is very clear, if you do have this disease, that is the one way to actually avoid it.
That's one way to deal with it, but it has to be a voluntary decision. As much as we are African men and we like to be the lions in our households, cutting your wife's credit card will not bring you much joy if she doesn't agree to the process, which is why communication is the very core and essence of this discussion. If you're finding communicating about finances is difficult between you and your spouse, bring in a third party, and through that marriage counseling process, discuss money openly, because the number 2 reason, other than infidelity, which ends relationships, is money.
Gerald, does your wife know how much you want? I've seen a ring on your finger.
My wife knows how much I earn. My wife takes all the money I earn and she manages it. But that's our relationship.
I want to bring the conversation. Let's bring it back. Let's bring the conversation back, you guys. I really want to know, how much of a role does financial education play here? I mean, based on your engagement and your experience, I'm sure there are a lot of people who know very little about taking care of their finances. And
that is the truth. And you get seasoned financial professionals who can't manage basic finances. And it's not necessarily a hallmark of you having a degree that you will automatically understand this thing called money. So it's important that you do get that education, either by engaging the services of a certified financial planning professional, or somebody who can basically be that sounding board or that person who acts as a referee when the fights occur.
And financial planners are free. You can go consult freely.
Financial planners are not free. Good financial planners, I'm one of them, charge. Anything that's free will often end up being substandard. The reason why there's a perception financial planning is free is because it's paid for by the solutions provider. Now,
so
if
a
bank or insurance company. And the problem when you get that relationship is that they're likely to try and sell you. Rather go for someone who's going to charge you for good advice and put you on the right track, especially when it comes to the finances of a household or for a couple.
Many thanks for
I really have to
insights.
commend your honesty here, Gerald. The wife, that is very fascinating.
But can I just say, it's not just women who are crazy spenders of money. Men also spend a lot of money.
I am
and
yet
on
to
that
meet
note,
one,
I'm going to end this conversation, just so you know. Okay.
I-
So that was Gerald Myandambira, who's an author and an entrepreneur.